At the turn of the 21st century, we had entered the digital age and a new form of bullying had emerged, much different than traditional school bullying. This new form of bullying was known as cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is especially prevalent during childhood and adolescence, and our youth can easily fall under victimization of cyberbullying, which can have some serious consequences, such as depression and suicide. Before I explain how cyberbullying affects our youth and how cyberbullying leads to depression and suicide, I am going to explain what cyberbullying is. Cyberbullying is reported as an aggressive, intentional act distributed by an individual or group using contact in an electronic medium continuously and relentlessly against someone who cannot stand up for himself or herself easily. Due to the nature of cyberbullying, they can happen in different forms. Whether it comes from social media, such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or any other form of online communications, cyberbullying has become to include the distribution of explicit videos and occurs via a range of websites, including online gaming sites. How cyberbullying affects our youth. According to Katzer, Fechenhauer, and Belshak, nearly 75% of school-age minors experienced cyberbullying aggression at least once in the last year. The effects of cyberbullying lead to both negative, long-term, and short-term consequences. Cyberbullying exposure was significantly associated with low levels of self-reported school satisfaction and achievement. How cyberbullying leads to depression and suicide. Bullying, cyberbullying, depression, and suicide ideation are major concerns regarding adolescents, particularly given that suicide is the third leading cause of death among American adolescents. Depression and suicide ideation are risk factors for suicide completion. Studies have shown that roughly 1 out of 8 adolescents suffer from depression, and 15.8% of high school students seriously considered attempting suicide. ISAFE reported for the 2003-2004 school year that 42% of kids have been bullied while online, a figure that held constant through the 2007-2008 school year, with the National Crime Prevention Center indicating that 40% of all teenagers with internet access have reported being bullied online during that year. An example of how cyberbullying amongst our youth can lead to depression and suicide is the case of Megan Meyer. According to 49-year-old Lori Drew, her 13-year-old neighbor, Megan Meyer, was spreading nasty rumors about Drew's daughter. Lori Drew exacted revenge. She created the false identity of Josh Evans on MySpace and there befriended Megan Meyer. Josh pretended to fall in love with Megan, and when the 13-year-old was convinced of quote-unquote his love, Josh, secretly Lori, had emails sent to Megan that said, "The world would be a better place without you." Megan, who suffered from depression, hung herself. Local prosecutors were unable to get an indictment against Drew in Missouri, where she and Megan Meyer lived. But federal prosecutors were able to indict her in Los Angeles, which was the headquarters of News Corp/Fox, which then owned MySpace, on 3 accounts of illegally accessing computers, which were misdemeanors, and 1 felony count of conspiracy under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. The jury found her guilty of the first 3 lesser charges. The suicide of Megan Meyer has not been the only suicide case associated with cyberbullying. Ryan Halligan, age 13, committed suicide in October 2003 after a combination of in-person and instant message bullying. Phoebe Prince, 15 years old, committed suicide in January 2010 after cyberbullying so relentless that taunting comments were left on her Facebook page even after her death. By September 2010, Twitter and video streaming have enabled cyberbullying that led to another suicide of 18-year-old Rutgers University freshman Tyler Clementi, whose gay sexual encounter was secretly captured on video and publicly streamed and tweeted about. In conclusion, cyberbullying is a major problem during childhood and adolescence that can have serious consequences on our youth, such as depression and suicide. Thank you.